Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about the recent updates to Jackrabbit Relay. Most notably, the Digital Signal Remover, or DSR. But before I get to the DSR, I want to talk about an update with the update script itself. Now I have it on the screen, and as you can see, I've run the update, and you'll notice here it has found all of the exchanges I use on my system and updated the symbol map. Now if you have TradingView that you use extensively, this is important as it keeps track of all changes with what TradingView sees versus with what the exchange will see. So if you do your secondary update, the no pool, you will see that it still updates the map files. The other thing that the update script now tries to do is identify if it itself has been updated and tries to run itself a second time if it has. This is still somewhat experimental, but so far it seems to have been working the way it needs to. Now, on to the DSR. If you're using TradingView and you're going to have problems, or you are having problems with duplicate signals, then the DSR fixes or tries to address that problem as much as reasonably possible. The first step is you have to use a special payload. And here is that payload. The time, the recipe, the action, buy or sell. But now let's get to the real heart of this. Exchange DSR. Migrating the DSR from the standalone version to the relay version required some serious changes. Those changes required the overlay of a virtual exchange. So you see, the DSR is acting as an exchange, and the reference needed sub-exchange is actually going to be the true exchange that you're going to direct this payload to. The DSR is an intermediary effect that reads this payload and converts the information into a proper Jackrabbit relay payload. You'll notice all of the TradingView tickers in full force. Now, P size can be either an absolute number in dollars or a percentage of your account. If you have an identity on your system, that identity must be in your TradingView payload. Now, as you can see, this is in the DSR.MD file, so you can copy and paste this information into your alerts. Just be sure to change your action appropriate to whether it is a buy or sell. So let's see what the DSR actually looks like in operation. Okay, here is the DSR log, and you'll notice it tracks accumulators. These accumulators are the total number of buys and the total number of sells for a given key that is built off of a particular recipe. If it has seen that information before, then it records the payload as duplicate. As you can see right here, duplicate payloads are not sent to the exchange. They are simply absorbed. For example, here is a transaction that took place for this coin. Here is another transaction that took place, but then roughly a minute later, the same transaction was issued again without the accumulators updating. Therefore, Relay knows this was a duplicate payload. You will see that quite often. For example, here is the same thing. 899999 duplicate payload. Now so far this has only been on purchases, but it can take place on sells. So this particular payload problem without the DSR would make an extra purchase. And that's something you need to be aware of. Extra purchases, of course, affect your budget. So the DSR deliberately blocks these extra purchases. And it tracks multiple coins. As you can see, it does it very well. And this is recorded in your logging area where you can see exactly how many take place, and you can see the transactions as they do take place. Now the DSR does not take a significant amount of time overlay with respect to the basic systems that are already in place. Okay, here is 5/6 of this coin, but it sees the difference. It's a different coin. So it tracks all of this for you and makes sure you're not getting duplicate purchases or duplicate sells. So let's go back a little ways. And you can see just how effective this process is. Now I sanitized some of this because of IDs, but here you see the payload and how it would look in a full production system. I've also cleaned up a lot of the code, but I wanted to demonstrate basically the way it was able to clearly identify how duplicates were processed and how frequently they took place. Sadly, they take place more frequently than they should, especially on lower time frames. So remember, this is freely built into Relay. If you run TradingView, use it. It is definitely something that is indispensable on the lower time frames. So again, here's the payload, but let's get out of this. And let's look at the references you will see. Okay, let's go to the main relay folder. And as you can see, it has its own placeholder log, which is what I took samples out of to demonstrate how it works. But now let's get back into the base directory. And you see it has its own placeholder profile. But notice that it does not stipulate future or spot markets like other exchanges might. From the standpoint of the DSR, that doesn't matter. So it can handle both future and spot simultaneously, and when it communicates to the relay instance what exchange you want, then and only then does the process of future or spot take into effect. But it's very simple, very easy process, something that needs to be really used and utilized. The documentation has the payload. Copy, paste it. Change your recipe appropriate to what you are using. Change your link appropriate to what you are using. That way, when you go to do your diagnostics and your testing, you have the information you need. Remember, the sub-exchange is your real exchange that the order is going to be placed upon. The exchange for your TradingView payload must be DSR if you want to use the DSR functionality. Now, the DSR does work with the percentage system, and it also works with all of the other frameworks involved. For example, if you want the max assets, which I currently am using, I'm trading one coin at a time. And of course, if you want your percent value framework in use. So all of these work together harmoniously. And here is, of course, the DSR itself. Now, this will contain confidential information, so don't share this file with anyone, because it does contain and register your identity string. So, there you have it. It is rather short, sweet, and simple. However, converting it from the standalone to the relay virtual exchange turned out to be quite tedious, which is why this video is late, as I needed to get more testing done. But it's working. I am actually running it, and it does well. And I do list in the documentation all of the various functionalities that you need to make this payload work properly. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, or whatnot. Leave any questions you have in the comments below or in the Jackrabbit support server. Now, the one advantage to the DSR and the almost one-hit wonder is you could use, say, 30% of your budget with max assets of 1 and actually go through and grow your account one coin at a time quite aggressively. That is actually what I have done here, using the almost one-hit wonder with one coin at a time. But I've chosen to use a very high-risk approach, so I've kept a very limited balance in my exchange. I'm using 93% of my budget on one single position. So right now my account wallet only has $20 in it. But as you can see, with one position at a time, it does mean that I can grow the account quite aggressively with the right coins. But you must understand the risks. This is not something you should really do unless you have just a very small amount. Once you start getting to $100 or something like that, reduce it to 1 or 2% at most, and follow proper risk mitigation, because this is very much high risk using 93% budget, or 93% of your budget. So if you want to try it, reduce your account drastically, because it can be high risk for one position, as you can see with this asset. I have been in it since the 7th. So, understand your risks, understand rewards, and understand how the DSR can help protect you against TradingView. You can use this process for a paper trading mode by replacing your sub-exchange with the word tester, which is a unique little way of actually testing the framework altogether. So let me know if you have any issues. Like, comment, share. Help me get this channel growing. Until next time.